Good morning. We'll call the meeting to order. We respectfully acknowledge that the Township of Algonquin Highlands is located on Treaty 20 Mississauga territory and in the traditional territory of the Mississauga and Chippewa Nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaties First Nations. We also acknowledge a historical shared presence of other Indigenous nations throughout the area. We recognize these original inhabitants as the stewards of its lands and waters since time immemorial. Could I have a mover and a seconder to approve the agenda? Deputy Mayor Dayu, Councillor Barry.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Dayu, seconded by Councillor Barry. Be it resolved that the February 19th, 2026 meeting agenda be approved as circulated.
All in favor? That's carried. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof today? Hearing none. Could I have a mover and a seconder to adopt the minutes of February the 5th? Councillors Shortreed and Richards.
Moved by Councillor Shortreed, seconded by Councillor Richard. Be it resolved that the February 5th, 2026 regular council meeting minutes be approved as circulated.
All in favor? That's carried. So we have no public meetings today, no delegations or presentations. So could I have a mover and a seconder to move into closed? Councillors Shortreed and Deputy Mayor Dayu.
Moved by Councillor Shortreed, seconded by Deputy Mayor Dayu. Be it resolved that council adjourns its open session at 9:02 a.m. in order to proceed into closed session for the purpose of discussing the following: advice subject to solicitor-client privilege and personal matters of an identifiable individual in accordance with sections 239(2)(b) and F of the Municipal Act 2001, C25 SO 2001 as amended. Personal matters of an identifiable individual and a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to negotiations in accordance with sections 239(2)(b) and K of the Municipal Act 2001, 25 SO 2001 as amended, recruitment municipal position, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality in accordance with section 239(2)(e) of the Municipal Act 25 SO 2001 as amended, legal matters update.
All in favor? That's carried. We're open, ready to go. Welcome back to the open session. We do have a report from close in the form of a resolution. If you'd like to read the resolution.
Absolutely. Be it resolved that council directs the chief administrative officer to engage the services of Jim Pine Consulting at an estimated cost of $15,686 plus applicable taxes and travel expenses to carry out the treasurer recruitment.
Could I have a mover and a seconder? Deputy Mayor Dayu, Councillor Barry. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Next is the consent agenda. Did anyone wish to pull any items from the consent agenda? Hearing no comment, could I have a mover and a seconder to accept the consent agenda? Councillor Shortreed, Councillor Perry.
Moved by Councillor Short-Reed, seconded by Councillor Barry. Be it resolved that items listed under the consent agenda are considered routine and enacted in one motion. Each matter of business contained in the consent agenda is recorded separately in the minutes of the meeting, and that Council approves the February 19th, 2026 consent agenda and hereby adopts the staff reports and all recommendations contained therein and directs staff to proceed with all necessary administrative actions.
All in favor? That's carried. Next is building and bylaw, and there's no report for that. So Parks, Recreation and Trails. Good day, Mr. Card.
Good day. I almost said good morning and we're about.
Well, yeah, you're safe. So if you want to speak to your report on the Barrier Buster Grant.
Yes, so a grant opportunity called the RBC Barrier Buster Grants Program has presented itself, which allows for accessibility related projects and municipal infrastructure. The management team met during our regular department head meeting to review possibilities that would align with this. And we do feel that what we had previously identified for grant opportunities being the lift at the Stanhope Hall here is a perfect fit. It aligns with the amounts unfortunately, we did apply for funding for that under a provincial program and it was denied just due to the reasoning given that it was an oversubscribed program. We can ask for up to $40,000. The costing that we have for this project is $50,000. Looking for council support and resolution to apply for a $50,000 project, asking for $40,000. And the township's providing the additional funds as well as any in-kind staff input for the project oversight and management, et cetera.
Comments or questions? So could I have a mover and a seconder then to approve that report? Councillor Barry, Deputy Mayor Dayu.
Moved by Councillor Barry, seconded by Deputy Mayor Dayu. Be it resolved, the council acknowledges receipt of Parks, Recreation and Trails Report PRT 00426 regarding RBC Barrier Buster Grant for information. And that council directs staff to apply for the RBC Barrier Buster Grant Program for the Stanhope Firefighters Community Hall Accessible Lift, requesting $40,000 of a project budget of $50,000, with the Township of Algonquin Highlands providing $10,000 plus in-kind staff time.
All in favor? That's carried. So next is your monthly activity report. Any highlights you'd like to give us?
Yes, through you, Mayor. So this time of year is recruitment and draft budget development. We've just finished a round of posting for our seasonal positions. Hope to be successful in that. Also to highlight a couple of partnerships we have happening right now with the county. One is the development of a joint tender for a pickup truck, which we have identified in this year's budget as part of our asset management plan replacement for pickup trucks. And also the county reached out to Sue regarding the Senior Active Living Center program grant funding, which they're applying for again this year. And we're looking for some ideas from us and just to give some ideas of programming we might be able to do within that. So we were able to get that to them and look forward to seeing if more funding is available for that. Of course, the last round gave us the opportunity to provide some seniors fitness related programming and Stanhope and up at the Dorset fitness room. Those are all the highlights.
Questions or comments? Councillor Short-Reed.
Mine's just a comment, just hats off to Sandra, maintenance and all staff for an amazing snowball. It was fantastic.
I think we all share that sentiment, and yeah, it was an excellent event. It was great weather and well done. So if you would pass that on to Sandra. Like, we really appreciate the work that she does.
Absolutely.
She's all hands on deck, boy, during Snowball. I'm wondering how you're enjoying your new space.
Here next door. Things are looking great. It's a really nice, fresh new option for us, and all the staff are excited about it as we kind of move into there and make it our own. Yeah, it's a really good charge to everybody's spirit, and it's going to be a great space. So happy to have it, and everybody involved in that project did a fantastic job. It looks great. Can't wait to get all the staff in for this summer. Yeah.
I know we had a tour of the new garage, but
Yeah.
maybe we need to have a tour of the new space that you're occupying.
Yeah.
The only question that I had was whether we might get a little bit more information or maybe layout or drawings of the Indigenous garden that's being planned for the park. And I've got to say, I was a tiny bit surprised at the consulting fees, but I guess they are what they are.
Yeah, so through you, Mayor, thank you. So where we are with that right now, I've had the initial startup meeting with the consultant. He's going to be coming back to me with information, and then we're going to reach out to the Indigenous community asking for their input on this process. From there, we would then have, hopefully we get responses from them. Because we don't know for sure that they're going to want to be involved. So the first step is to reach out, say, we have this project going on. Here's what we're considering. Would you folks like to be involved? Once we get that information, we work from there. I'd like to then have at some point in that whole process come back to council with here's some options for location and design, etc. But it's starting with just asking whether or not they want to be involved.
And what input they might have, yeah, right on.
Yeah, and the consultant did let me know that the communities that are involved in this area are likely to want to be involved do have several what he referred to as some high profile things that they're working on at the moment. So we hope that it's something that they can take on, but again, we're just looking to see if there's interest there and start right there. If there's not, there's opportunities with the consultant to just work with them directly and some other folks that they have available to them. But later on in the process, we'd be digging into, actual size, actual location, this is what we're considering, etc.
Great. Just keeping in mind that it is a project that we're committed to doing this year, and that at some point we'll just have to move forward.
Mhm.
Deputy Mayor Dayu?
Thanks, Chris. Just harkening back to a conversation that we had one of the last times that we spoke about this garden, and I remember Councillor Barry raising it in particular. We do really look forward to, at some stage, having a meaningful conversation with whoever the consultant or the group is going to be, either at council level or at some sort of senior level, so that it is a meaningful dialogue between the leaders of our communities, rather than it being perceived as more of a lip service thing where, we'd like to have someone come in and I know that's not what it is, but if we are able to increase the meaningfulness of it by, in some respect, getting council involved, that would be great. So just bearing that in mind, I guess.
Well, I guess we'll have to see what we hear back from levels of interest and willingness to be involved. But go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, our agreement with the consultant is that they'd come back with a presentation to council with information about all of the discussions that have been had. The discussion process and the involvement is intended to be between staff and the community. So starting with outreach, okay, here's some folks or portions of the community that are interested. And then again, what the consultant has described to me as a Chris will be heading down and just meeting people. And then what's happening is he's facilitating meeting the correct people. And then it's up to me to establish those relationships. And rather than looking at it as we want you guys to design a garden for us. It's a matter of, we want to meet the people who might be interested in this and get their input, create that relationship, understand what that relationship means. And whether or not it's appropriate to, or if there's a desire to have a conversation between contacts and at this table, it could certainly bring that up as an opportunity if council wishes, but I'd certainly be happy to include that as part of the discussion as things evolve. Yeah.
Let's see how you make out in your in your next discussions with the consultants and come back and we can talk about this some more. Any other questions on the report? So has, our discussion gone back to the Dorset community about the tree and where we landed with the Christmas tree?
Not yet, no. Right after the council meeting, where we discussed that, I was on vacation afterwards.
Very
I've just
good.
gotten back. So, I apologize for that, but it's certainly, one of the next things on my list. Yeah.
Okay, if there are no other questions from council, could I have a mover and a seconder to receive the monthly activity report? Councillor Barry, Councillor Shortreed.
Moved by Councillor Barry, seconded by Councillor Shortreed. Be it resolved, the council acknowledges receipt of Parks, Recreation and Trails Report PRT 00526 regarding January 2026 monthly activities for information.
All in favor? That's carried. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Take care.
Next up is environmental business. Good afternoon, Melissa.
Good afternoon. I just had to check my watch there. Thank you. Just a couple of notes. If no one else has had this, I'm sure they've heard about it, but issues with our temperatures up and down. We've had some equipment issues with the freeze thaw cycles that we had in January. It was a bit tricky. So we had some of our equipment, particularly at the Dorset site, our compactors were frozen for a little bit and then they thawed and refroze. So if you've heard anyone up there with a bit of a change in operations there, that's it. And then much like last year with the amount of snow we've just had a couple of things we've been managing with access to some of our collection areas. So we have had to, on occasion, just ask people to come back, return with a material because we couldn't access the area. And we've gotten the snow cleared and had them back. So if you have heard from any residents about that, that's just part of our ongoing management and trying to establish some new patterns for snow storage is the challenge. And the only other, just to note on the reporting, just a change that I've made for 2026 is I have in our vehicle counts year to year, I've just dropped out the information from 2020 to 2021, 2022, because it was such an anomaly of data. So I've just gone back sort of to our last regular operational time, which was 2019, and comparing to that. So. Oh.
Any questions for Melissa? Hearing none, could I have a mover and a seconder to receive the report? Councillor Barry, Councillor Shortreed.
Moved by Councillor Barry, seconded by Councillor Barry. Be it resolved, the council acknowledges receipt of Environmental Business Report EB 00426 regarding monthly activities for information.
I do believe you moved and seconded by Councillor Barry when you read.
Oh, My
okay.
apologies, I wrote Counselor Shortreed. Moved by Counselor Berry, seconded by Counselor Shortreed.
Thank you.
My
All in
apologies.
favor? That's carried. Thanks, Melissa.
Thank you.
Next up is Public Works and a little bit of a discussion about design options for the timber frame gazebo at Dorset.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and members of council, and my esteemed colleagues, Sarah and Angie. So, yeah, this afternoon, bring forth courtesy of Diesel Woodworks, a couple of images for review and discussion, a couple of options for our proposed gazebo. I think respectfully, both images are a nice fit for the Dorset community area. Probably the gable roof image is sort of more in keeping with some of the pavilions that we have in the Dorset area. A little more maybe consistent. I think the shed roof maybe is a nice option too, because it has maybe a bit more openness. And if we're trying to, depending on what we perceive the gazebo being used for, it may be a nice choice too for if there's going to be music like or presentations or displays. I think with it being open to the roadway, that might be a good option too. So
Comments or questions? Counselor Shortreed.
Are any of these what the museum committee presented to you? Are they similar in any way?
I do recall seeing a sketch quite a while ago, and I think the gable roof one is
I
very
think so
similar.
too, so
Yes.
the top one,
Yes,
yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's what.
So that would be their preferred option.
I believe so, yes. Yeah. And not to say that any of these couldn't be massaged a little bit, if we feel that there's a need for like maybe seating, benching or that sort of thing.
That's a good point. You know, you know, the fact that we have seating in the gazebo at the cemetery, I mean, its use is different. So I'm not sure, you know, whether seating would be required in this case, probably the greater need for space than seating.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts about it? So I'm hearing that we might prefer the gable roof design, particularly, go ahead, Counselor Barry.
Is this council's decision or I don't know, I know that.
It is council's decision, but I mean, we would obviously be taking into consideration what the committee.
Yeah, the
prefers.
committee had to cancel their meeting last month, so I don't know how much conversation the committee has had in regards to these images. Just as food for thought.
What's sort of the timing on this?
I think have a bit of a luxury there. I think ideally it'd be nice to break ground when it's conducive to do so in the spring for the foundation part, because what I'm hearing from the committee is they'd like to do fundraising and that sort of thing throughout the year. However, until we know whether the program's a go, which won't be until March, and Mr. Diesel has explained to me it's probably looking at closer to August before his students would be in a position to take that on.
So we've got some time. I mean, you know, the foundation would remain the same for both styles.
Yes.
So we could, you know, move ahead with the foundation and give the committee time to just reaffirm that that's their preferred choice. Counselor Shortreed,
The committee meets on Tuesday,
on Tuesday,
this Tuesday.
That's speedy turn.
right?
Conflicts with our budget.
Oh, I thought okay,
What time do they meet? I'm sorry, when?
They have been meeting in the daytime,
Oh, okay.
so I'm just waiting to confirm that they're meeting in the evening.
yeah, I got an email from Carrie,
Okay, I've sent 3, haven't heard back from her.
okay.
So they're meeting in the evening?
Yeah.
Well, at any rate, there's lots of time, you know, from what I'm hearing that, you know, for them to be able to get back to us with their preferred choice. So I guess at this point, if there are no other questions, we would just receive the report. Go ahead, Brian.
There's just one other thing I want to add was, the one thing I haven't put in the report was, a need for electrical. So whether we want to look at lighting and power. That is something that I can certainly get a costing for.
And they're going to be doing some fundraising at the same time? Deputy Mayor Dayu?
I think that's a great idea. Certainly, when we think of the history of the Dorset gazebo and the Oxtown gazebo, after the fact, there has proven to be a real interest in having power and lighting there. And when we've been able to kind of retrofit that, it's worked very well. So I think that's really prudent.
Yeah, I agree. I think it'd be really desirable. It'd be a nice feature.
Okay, so if you can do some investigating
Sure.
into what that might add to the cost and
Okay.
and, maybe the committee can think about whether they want to, sort of boost their fundraising efforts a little bit in that regard as well. Madam CAO?
So then, just for the purpose of the resolution, council will defer a decision pending input from the committee.
Yeah, I
what
would
I'm
think so.
hearing.
We received the
Yeah.
report, but defer
Yeah.
choosing an option. Any other comments or questions? So a mover and a seconder to that effect. Deputy Mayor Dayu, seconded by Councillor Shortreed. And they are letting you take the lead in discussions about this project.
Yes.
Good.
No, fantastic group to work with. Yeah.
Okay, that's
yeah.
good.
Madam Mayor, I just have to just change the resolution slightly, so I'll just be.
Okay, go ahead. Give you a minute to do that.
Okay, so what I have here is moved by Deputy Mayor Dayu, seconded by Councillor Shortreed. Be it resolved, the council acknowledges receipt of report PM 00126 regarding the design selection for the proposed timber frame gazebo at the Dorset Heritage Museum, and the council hereby defers the report until feedback from the Dorset Museum Committee is received and staff inquire if electrical will be required as part of the project.
All in favor? That's carried. Thank you, sir.
Great, thank you.
So next on the agenda is the pothole prevention funding agreement, but that's under the bylaws section. So we'll move on to. Okay, we will move on to fire services and then we'll break for lunch. Seeing as how you're here, ready to give us your report.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Any highlights that you'd like to provide us?
Yes, this report, I'd like to highlight the training that's been ongoing. We, as of the first of the year, they've been doing a lot of yearly training, as in their first aid CPR defibs all been updated. They've done refresher training for ice water rescue training. We did have one evening where we were out on the lake practicing using portable pumps, drafting water of the lakes, when one of the local cottage associations saw it and took pictures, and the comments on that Facebook were great. They were so impressed that our firefighters are already on the evening doing this kind of training. We're just about to start a recruit training, so we'll be doing some more firefighters. Algonquin Highlands has 6 new firefighters starting recruit training, and they've actually had 1 weekend they've done so far. And the only other thing I want to highlight and make aware to council is Algonquin Highlands did take part in the fire and harcourt last Thursday night. We had one tanker that was at the scene trucking water. And then we also had a pumper that was located in Dysart, and we covered Highlands East in Dysart for fire calls if something was to come in. Unfortunately, it didn't. Our tanker alone, which is 3,000 gallons in it, did 8 loads of water. So
Wow.
that's a lot of water. That was a
I'm
large.
sorry, I didn't what?
Did 8 loads of water. So 24,000 gallons of water. We did this with our own truck for the
Wow.
calls. So that was a very large fire. But again, it's nice to see that we have a mutual aid where we are helping out our neighboring fire departments, and they'll in turn help us out if we ever have that situation arise.
Questions for the chief? Deputy Mayor Dayu?
To only ask that our thanks be extended to the team members who put themselves into the dunk pot or whatever it's called at Snowball over the weekend. That is not a fun experience for the face. And you
No.
could see they were bearing it very, very well and with great humor. So thank you to them for doing that. That was fun.
We'll extend that to them, definitely.
Thanks for bringing that forward. Okay, could I have a mover and a seconder to receive the fire chief's report? Councilors Short Reed and Richards. Oh, and I thank you to Mr. Pankhurst as well for being an excellent driver. I wish the
Good.
truck would actually be able to cross the bridge, but
Okay, moved by Councillor Short Reed, seconded by Councillor Richards. Be it resolved that council acknowledges receipt of Fire Services Report FD 0326 regarding January 2026 monthly activities for information.
all in favor? That's carried. And we will now break for lunch until 1:45.
Thank you. Enjoy your afternoon.
Okay, welcome back to the open session. The next item on the agenda, I think, is administrative business. First up is the Stanhope Museum update. Any comments from members on the Stanhope Museum? I'm glad to see that there's been a little action on lines of communication between counselors and staff.
No, these meeting minutes were from January. We have had a meeting since then. See if there's anything from here that I should bring forward. It was a fairly short meeting.
Any-
So we continue to look for members. We're running with a fairly short, small group right now. There's been some work they've been doing, as you know, the memory project or the Meet an Ancestor Days, and they've been, taking information over the last probably decade. And they're now transcribing some of that information digitally in through one of the AI programs. They're able to really concisely have all of that information, and then you can go in and search for things. So if you were doing an exhibit on a certain family or a certain object, you could search it through that. So that's kind of a fun, modern take on history. So that's some work that's being done there. There's going to be a couple things coming forward in the next meeting minutes, but nothing per se from this.
Okay, any questions? Could I then have a mover and a seconder to receive the update? Councillor Deputy Mayor Dayu, Councillor Shortreed.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Dayu, seconded by Councillor Shortreed. Be it resolved that council received the January 12th, 2026 Stanhope Museum Committee meeting minutes for information.
All in favor? That's carried. Next is the pay equity and compensation review. Madam CAO.
Thank you, Mayor. It is that time of year. As council is aware, we are required to demonstrate that we maintain pay equity every 5 years. So it is in 2026, we're required to do that once again. As contained in my report, council again will recall that in 21, we went to RFP for these services, and the successful consultant was Gallagher Benefit Group. And so I'm recommending to council to sole source that their consulting services once again for this review in 26. And it's in accordance with the purchasing policy, we are allowed to do that. And it's with the estimate that I have received, it will be less than 25,000, which is included in the 2026 budget. So looking for council support on that.
The only question that I would have is have we made any allowances for increases that we may experience in the budget?
Thank you, Mayor. No, we have not. We expect that we are in line as we have been in the last number of years. And once we get through the review, it's anticipated we'll be closer to the end of the year anyway, and any fluctuations would be very minimal.
Okay. Any other questions? Councillor Richards?
I'm just wondering if, given that this is something that all municipalities have to do, is this not something that could be done at the county level for all 4 municipalities rather than each of us having to do this individually?
Good question.
It possibly, yes. I know that we are all in different intervals of when we are required to do it. So it'd be something that from an HR perspective, we'd have to bring everybody together at a certain year to make that work.
Did you have a question, Councillor Berry?
I support looking into that.
Well, I was just, my wheels were kind of turning. It just seems to me that there has been mention of HR consolidation being part of the service delivery reviews. And I don't know if there are any discussions that are going on kind of behind closed doors, but that is definitely something that, you know, could be added to the levels of discussion that could be shared. I don't see that working for us this year, but, you know, going forward, go ahead.
Yeah, that was my comment. I don't think the timeline for us really permits that.
Mhm.
But it's a great thing to put on the agenda.
Sure.
Any other questions or comments? Then could I have a mover and a seconder to receive the report and recommend the sole sourcing of the equity review? Question?
Yeah, just a further question. Angie, I don't know if you would have this off the top of your head or not, but I wonder if there is one more municipality that this year is going in through the same process that we could perhaps partner up with on the recruitment of you know, because if there's one, I think it's worth looking into.
Through you, Mayor, I don't know that off the top of my head, but I can certainly ask.
Well, and then there's the question of the single sourcing and whether their rules allow us them to do the same thing, but I mean, we can make some inquiries. So does that mean that we need to defer the resolution?
It's respectfully, Mayor, I wouldn't defer. We do need to get moving on it, but certainly if anyone else is in the same position that we're in, they could join us.
Okay. So we'll move in a seconder for the resolution. Councillor Richards, stepping.
Moved by Councillor Richards, seconded by Deputy Mayor Dayu. Be it resolved, the council acknowledge receipt of report CAO 00226 regarding the pay equity and compensation review submitted by Angie Bird and dated February 19th, 2026. And that council concurs with the recommendation made in the said report and authorizes the single source procurement of Gallagher Benefits Group to conduct the review in accordance with section 11.5 of the township's purchasing policy. And finally, that council directs that the review include a market review compensation for both staff and council.
All in favor? That's carried. Next is the benefit renewal.
Thank you again, Mayor. This is just our annual renewal for our township benefits, and happy to provide council with the news that our rate has decreased by 9.3%. Which was a great news for this year. So overall, we've given the 14-year average, which is 3.6%, and in and of itself is a good rate increase. But this year is definitely a nice surprise. So recommending that we move forward with Manulife once again.
Any questions or comments? Hearing none, mover and a seconder to move forward with it. Councillor Short-Reed, Councillor Berry.
Moved by Councillor Short-Reed, seconded by Councillor Berry. Be it resolved, the council acknowledges receipt of report CAO 00326 regarding the 2026 benefit renewal submitted by Angie Burden dated February 19, 2026. And that council hereby concurs with the recommendations made in the said report and accepts the renewal from Manulife Financial for the provision of the township benefit plan for council members and full-time employees at an annual decrease of 9.3%.
All in favor? It's carried. Next up is the digital transformation report. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor and Council. The report that is in front of you does summarize the digital transformation activities for December and January. There is not anything specific that I wanted to highlight other than to say that across a number of the projects that are listed, there continues to be strong collaboration between ourselves, the county, and our other local municipal partners. So with that, if there are any questions, I'm happy to take those.
It's good to hear that there's continued and solid collaboration. Questions or comments? Mover and a seconder then to receive the report. Councillor Shortreed and Richards.
Moved by Councillor Shortreed, seconded by Councillor Richards. Be it resolved, the council acknowledges receipt of Digital Transformation Report DT 00126 regarding monthly activities for information.
All in favor? That's carried. The next item is, will be seen on the bylaw portion of the agenda about delegation of authority for lame duck. Anybody know where the lame duck term came from? When do we start limping? So next up is planning. And good afternoon, Mr. O'Callaghan.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council.
So you have a proposed lot addition to bring to us.
Yes, this is two lot additions on Quagma Lake that's being proposed. It's to increase the size of two developed lots that are currently undersized. So generally staff are supportive of that with some standard conditions that I've recommended in my report.
Any questions or comments? Okay, hearing none. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Receiving the report and agreeing to move forward. Councillor Richards, Deputy Mayor Dayu.
Moved by Councillor Richards, seconded by Deputy Mayor Dayu. Be it resolved, the council acknowledges receipt of planning report PL 01926 prepared by Sean O'Callaghan and dated February 19, 2026 regarding proposed severance of lands located on part of lot 18, concession 12, part of lots 17 to 19, concession 13, geographic township of Sherburne, Quagma Lake, Falkenberg. And further, that council supports in principle the proposed severance subject to the following conditions. 1, the registered owner shall pay the balance of any outstanding taxes, including penalties and interest, and any local improvement charges if applicable to the Township of Algonquin Highlands. 2, the registered owner shall provide a settlement of 5% parkland dedication or cash in lieu on the amount of $100 for each of the severed parcels to the Township of Algonquin Highlands pursuant to section 51.1 of the Planning Act. Number 3, a copy of all reference plans associated with this application shall be provided to the Township of Algonquin Highlands and the County of Haliburton for comment and approval prior to registration. 4, a digital copy of all reference plans associated with this application shall be provided to the Township of Algonquin Highlands following registration. And 5, that the severed parcels merge in title with the benefiting lands.
All in favor? That's carried. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So external board meetings, Dorset Partnership and or Health Hub, any updates?
Still tentatively to go in March. I just haven't had an exact date yet.
Okay. Anything on the Upper Trent Water Management Partnership or Muskoka Watershed?
Nothing on either of them. Muskoka Watershed's AGM is next week. Nothing on the Boca Halls Hawk working group either.
Okay. The OPP Detachment Board will be meeting next week. So we'll look to give you any updates that come from that after that or at our next meeting. Anything from the library board? I think there might be one piece of news.
There is one piece of news. We held elections for library board chair. There were no public members who put their names forward for that position. So I was nominated and have been acclaimed as library board chair.
Well, congratulations. Anything on community safety and well-being? Anything on the Muskoka River Watershed Communications Committee? I wish they changed their name. As to council update, the one thing that I'm kind of tickled about, we'll see how it all plays out, is that when it came to the use of the mat tax, there was some discussion on establishment of the board. And, the board would be sort of setting their terms of reference, and I raised the fact that we had had some discussions from time to time, looking to see if there was any willingness on the part of the county to assist lower tier municipalities with projects. And they seem to be open to that. There would have to be a process put in place on how that would work. But I was pleased to hear a positive response, or maybe pleased that there was no negative response to that suggestion. So, I look forward to that process being put in place. It'll be interesting to see how that all falls into play. The members of there's some discussion as well about the membership on the board that would be looking after the mat tax. That at the moment it's the 4 mayors and the warden, I guess, but would still be the 4 mayors. But there was some discussion about a process to ensure that there was public participation in that board as well. So, we'll see how that, it's new to us all. We'll see how it plays out. And I'm not sure. I guess the one thing I should say, sadly, we had our last meeting in the county council chambers. And for the next 5 meetings, I believe that we'll be meeting virtually, unless, there's a real need for in-person meetings, at which point, there'll be a location chosen. I think part of the, initially they were talking about possibly moving around and going to each one of the municipalities, but it was accepted that, like, our council chambers is not really that big. Couldn't necessarily accommodate all of those, although some people could Zoom in. That Highlands East doesn't really have a council chambers per se. But, there's still, if we absolutely needed to meet, so, there's the choice of either Dysart or Minden Hills, but I don't foresee that being necessary. Otherwise, I don't know there was anything else really came out of that. We've had some pretty quick meetings. Any notices of motion from anyone? Hearing none. I did, although at the last meeting, we did offer some support to, I think, the home builders with respect to affordable housing and using HST or relieving the HST requirements. But because this one resolution is coming from one of our member municipalities, I thought it might be a good idea for us to support them as well. So, I was the one who requested the support. So could there be a seconder for that? Councillor Barry, thank you.
Ready, I'm gonna go
Go
ahead and
ahead.
read it. Okay. Moved by Mayor Danielson, seconded by Councillor Barry. Be it resolved, the council receives correspondence from the municipality of Highlands East and supports the following resolution that was approved on February 10th, 2026. The council for the municipality of Highlands East at the regular meeting of council on February 10th, 2026 approved the following resolution. Resolution number 2026-63, that council for the municipality of Highlands East receive and supports the Haliburton County Home Builders Association motion pertaining to affordable housing, and further that council put forward the following. Whereas housing affordability is one of the most pressing issues facing Ontario families, whereas the current HST rate on new homes in Ontario is 13%, which adds tens of thousands of dollars to the cost of a typical home. Whereas the federal and provincial governments have announced GST relief only for first-time homebuyers on new built homes. And whereas according to research conducted by the Ontario Home Builders Association, first-time homebuyers currently represent approximately 5% of the new home market. And whereas a full PST exemption would stimulate the construction of an additional 53,000 new homes on top of the roughly 80,000 homes already expected to be available for sale by 2026, bringing the total approximate to 132,000 units. Therefore, be it resolved that the Council of Municipality of Highlands East calls on the Government of Canada and the Government of Ontario to remove the GST HST from all homes purchased as primary residence in Ontario, and be further that resolved that this resolution be circulated to the Prime Minister of Canada, Minister of Finance, and the Minister of Housing, Infrastructure and Communities, and the Premier of Ontario, the Ontario Minister of Finance, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, our local MP and MPP, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, and to all municipalities in Ontario. And that the Township of Algonquin Highland further directs that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to the Prime Minister of Canada, Minister of Finance, and the Minister of Housing and Infrastructure and Communities, and to the Premier of Ontario, the Ontario Minister of Finance, and the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, our local MP and MPP, the Association of Municipalities, and to all municipalities in Ontario.
Wow.
There's not a more succinct way to say that. All in favor? Thank you. Also, could I have a mover and a seconder to receive the correspondence listing? Councillor Shortreed and Richards.
Moved by Councillor Shortreed, seconded by Councillor Richards, be it resolved that Council receives the February 19, 2026 correspondence listing for information.
All in favor? That's carried. Could I have a mover and a seconder for the bylaws? Councillor Shortreed and Richards.
Moved by Councillor Shortreed, seconded by Councillor Richards, be it resolved that the following bylaws be received and read a first time, considered read a second and third time, and finally passed with a corporate seal affixed. 2026-18 Delegation of Authority Restricted Acts, lame duck. 2026-19 Pothole Prevention and Repair Program Agreement with the Minister of Transportation.
All in favor? That's carried. Mover and a seconder for the confirmatory bylaw. Councillor Richards, Councillor Shortreed.
Moved by Councillor Richards, seconded by Councillor Shortreed, be it resolved that bylaw 2026-20 to confirm the proceedings of council held during its February 19, 2026 regular meeting be received and read a first time, considered read a second and third time, and finally passed with a corporate seal affixed.
All in favor? That's carried. And finally, a motion to adjourn. Deputy Mayor Dayu, Councillor Shortreed.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Dayu, seconded by Councillor Shortreed, be it resolved that the meeting is hereby adjourned at 1:15 p.m.
All in favor?